This is Professor Vijay Kumar Mophare, working as an assistant professor in Department of Electronics and Computer Engineering, WIT Solapur. Hello students, in this session I hope last session you have understood the concept of CSS selector. Now in this section we will continue with the CSS selectors and we will understand the next subsequent selectors that we can use in the CSS style sheets. Okay, so these are descendant selectors, attribute selector, pseudo class selector and universal selector. So what is descendant selectors? Now many times, as we all of are aware, that HTML file is a hierarchical document. That means you have a parent tag, then within that parent tag you have several child tags or child elements. Suppose using the parent tag, or name of the parent tag, I want to style its children's. Can I do that? Yes, you can do that, and that is what descendant selector does. So first we will see one example, then you will understand. So how do I use this descendant selector? The syntax is first name of the parent tag followed by space and the name of the child tag. As you can see, if I want to style a paragraph within the div element, then I have to write first the div name of the tag, space and the name of the child tag, that is p. Okay, so let us consider one example. Now suppose I have this div, okay, right, and within this div suppose I have one paragraph. Okay, correct. So this Walchand Institute is a paragraph inside the div, right? Now I will remove this previous styling, okay, and I will keep this div styling as it is, okay, or rather I will not use div, I will not use background color, rather I will give the border. So this is the div. Now I want to style the paragraph which is the child of this div element, and the value of the paragraph is Walchand Institute. Suppose this Walchand Institute paragraph I want to display in the green color, assume, correct? So how do I do that? So that is div, sorry, there is a spelling mistake, that's why it is not coming black. Yes, now it is coming. So inside this div tag I have a child tag called as p. So how I will use this as descendant selectors? Name of the parent, that is div, space and the name of the child element, that is p. So div space p, that means inside the div tag I have this child p tag and I want to style it. So this is similar to the element selector, but here you are using the hierarchy within the HTML tag to target a specific HTML element. So here I want this font size, okay, font weight, let's say suppose to be, let's say 400 pixel, 400, and I want this font size to be 20 pixel. If I do that, as you can see, instead of 400 if I say 600, so it will become more dark, right? Then I can change the font color also. Correct. So this is how I have selected a specific element using its parent, that means using the hierarchy of the HTML document. So I hope you have understood. This is how we select the particular HTML element inside the HTML document in the CSS file using the dissident selector. So P is a paragraph and it's a dissident of this div tag, as you can see in this HTML file. Now the second way of selecting the element is attribute selector, where if you have a particular attribute of a particular HTML element, then you can style that using attribute selector. So let's see with the example. So suppose below this div, instead of div, suppose I have this input tag and type is text. Okay, so you can see this is the input. Okay, so now I want to style this input. So what I will do, I will remove this div and P, and instead of that I will select this input. Now here there are no multiple inputs, but if I have this multiple input, then you can style a particular specific inputs. For example, instead of text it is choice. Correct, right? Assume its type is choice. Then suppose I want to style the text input only. So how do I do that? So first input, that is the name of the, okay, then square bracket and type text. This is what is the syntax, as you can see. Okay, input in bracket square bracket type is equal to in double quotes text. Okay, and then the CSS property. Now suppose I want this input with the type text, okay, where I want the border, okay, to be 1 pixel but in solid format, but the color should be green. Okay, so you can see this now input box border is green color. Okay, instead of green, suppose I want to make it red. You can see it is now become red. But as you can observe, this second input is not affected. Why? Because its type is choice. Okay, deliberately I have given, it is not a valid type, but deliberately I have shown you that it is, the style is applied only when the type of the input is text, because this is what we have selected. So this is called as attribute selector. So you have this tag input and it has the attribute type, and it will be applied only to the type which is of text. Okay, that style will be applied. So this is another way of selecting a specific element and specific attribute. Depending upon the attribute of that element, I can select that element and I can apply different style to it. Okay, this is very useful whenever you are having some mouse activity. For example, if I have the mouse focus over here, and if I want to display some, okay, context help, then I can use such kind of selectors, right? So this is very useful. Now second selector is pseudo class selector. Okay, for example, if I have a paragraph tag and if I have some mouse activity such as hover over it, then I want to change its color. So how it is done? It is done using the pseudo class selector. Pseudo class means these are predefined classes, pseudo classes defined in the CSS standard itself, and you just have to, you can't give your own name, you have to select. And the list of the CSS pseudo class selectors, if you go and search on the Google, you will get all the list of I think there are hundreds of pseudo class selectors, and they have specific purpose over it. Okay, so let us use, suppose this is a paragraph, Walchand Institute of Technology. Now when I hover the mouse cursor on this paragraph, I want to change the color. How do I do that? Or I want to change the color of the div when I hover the tag on it. So what I will do, I will just go, okay, div, okay, and then hover, and I will change the background color. Background color I will change. I will make it as, let's say, red. Okay, so whenever my mouse is on that particular div, as you can see, it will become red. Got it? Right? So this is what pseudo class selector. I have styled that pseudo class called as hover whenever it is applied to the div element. So inside the div element, if I am hovering the mouse, okay, I am selecting that effect with the hover pseudo class, and then I am changing the background color. So the moment you are inside the div, you are applying that pseudo class, and the moment you get out of it, it is taken away. So that CSS property is taken away. So it is very effective. As you can see, these applications are in menu. Whenever you have this, say here also this code pane, okay, you must see this is hover effect. Okay, this is the same code that we have written, right? It is changing the shade of the gray. Okay, so there are lots of application. Okay, changing the mouse pointer also. As you can see, pointer is now arrow, but here it is hand. So the same thing you can do, correct? Okay, then the last is the universal selector. Universal selector is used whenever we want to change the default properties of all the HTML elements. Okay, so for example, if I delete everything and I simply say star. Now star is the universal selector. Okay, so when I type star and in a rectangular curly bracket, if I give the properties, then I'm applying universal selector. So what will happen? See, if I do that, universal selector background color, okay, or let's say font, okay, if I change the font size, okay, to 25 pixel, see what happens. All the text, okay, or if I have here multiple paragraph, okay, let's say there is another paragraph, okay, as you can see, this paragraph and this paragraph, I have not applied any style to it, but still the font size is changed. Why? Because see, the font size is changed for both the paragraph. Why? Because I have used the universal selector. So what happens? Universal selector, the whatever the CSS style you will apply, they will get applied to all the HTML tags inside that HTML file, to which the CSS file is associated with. Are you getting this? Okay, so if I change the color of the font, okay, in this universal selector, then all the fonts will become of that color, correct? See, so this is called as universal selector. Now universal selector should be used only when you want to reset the default properties, and most commonly the universal selectors are used to change the padding to 0 pixel and margin to 0 pixel. And in this way, this is the standard practice. In this way, what you do, you will be removing all the padding and margins, default padding and margins of all the elements, and then you on your own will give the padding and margin, and this is very effective in layouting and positioning the elements within the web applications, and this is very, very effective. So in the subsequent sessions, we will see the use of this universal selector, and where we can reset the default CSS properties of all the elements, and then manually or individually we will style them. Okay, this is very standard practice in the web development. So I hope you have understood the remaining CSS selectors also. So in this session and in the last session, we have understood different CSS selectors and how we can use those selectors to style the HTML element within the CSS file. So I hope you have understood. If you have any question, you can ask. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye.